Welcome to Best Practices in Adult Learning Theory, Malcolm Knowles' 6 Assumptions about Adult Learners. We are going to explore Malcolm Knowles' 6 assumptions about the way that adult learners learn. Exploring these assumptions will give us a better understanding of adult learning theory, so that as we proceed through the course and we are introduced to new strategies, tips, and tools, we will have a better understanding as to why they are important for effective professional development design. Take a moment to review these 6 assumptions, see if any of these are already familiar to you, or if you have any questions about one of these assumptions, or 2 of them perhaps in particular. We are presenting a lot of information in the slideshow, and there is a lot of text on each slide. You can pause each slide and read through the text independently. We do ask you, as you proceed through the slideshow, that you participate actively as you can, given the format. As you read new information and you hear new information, ask yourself some questions. Make note of your initial reaction to Knowles' assumption. Do you agree with his assumption or not? And why is that? Also reflect on your professional practice as you read this new information and hear this information. Are you already applying these best practices to your professional development sessions? And if so, how? And if you are not applying these best practices, how do you think you could do so? Or maybe you think it would be difficult. Is there some constraint within your professional development sessions that might make it difficult for you to implement these best practices? And why is that? And you can also make note of any questions that you have. You will have an opportunity to engage with your course members in the discussion threads, and also have an opportunity to engage directly with your instructor during the live discussion sessions. So we're going to begin by exploring the adult learner's need to know. And again, there's a lot of text on these slides, and you can pause the slide and read through the information independently. But very briefly, Malcolm Knowles suggests that adults have a need to know why they should learn something, and that we, as professional development facilitators and designers, in order to engage the adult learner, have to be very explicit in explaining to them why what they are learning is important and why it benefits either their professional life or their personal life. How is this going to benefit their professional practice, or how is it going to benefit their personal development? So I ask for you to reflect on your own experience as an adult learner. Have you been in a learning situation where it wasn't very clear to you why the learning was important to your professional practice or your personal life, and how did that make you feel? And then I also ask you to reflect on your professional practice. Do you do this already? Do you already address the adult learner's need to know by explaining to them very explicitly why the contents of your session or your training will benefit either their professional life or their personal life? The second assumption that we are going to explore is that adults are very self-directing in their learning. According to Malcolm Knowles, adults have a deep need to be self-directing, and that during our professional development sessions, we should take the steps to let them offer their input into either the learning planning somehow or the learning process. Adults are self-directing in their personal lives. They make the decisions and they're the boss of their world. They decide what's best for them. So when they are thrown into a learning situation where they are not given the opportunity to be self-directing at all, they will quickly disengage, and we don't want that to happen. So make sure when you are designing your professional development sessions that you somehow let the adult learner have some input into the learning process. So again, I ask for you to reflect on your role as an adult learner. Have you been in a learning situation where you have had no input into the learning process or the contents or the planning at all? And how did this make you feel? And then also reflect on a learning situation as an adult learner where you had some chance to give some input into the learning planning or process, or given some choice, or somehow you were allowed to participate actively within your own learning. And then also, again, reflect on your role as a professional development leader. Are you allowing your participants an opportunity to give input into the session somehow? And if not, how do you think you could do so? Next, we're going to explore the assumption that adults bring to each learning experience a wealth of lifetime of experience. They bring to each learning opportunity a lifetime of experience. That's a better way to say that. According to Malcolm Knowles, adults bring a lifetime of experience to each learning opportunity, and we, as professional development facilitators, need to acknowledge that experience. And we need to acknowledge it for two reasons. And the first reason is that their experience is a resource. They have a lot to bring to the table. They have a lot to add to the conversation. Each individual does, and then as a group, collectively, a professional development audience will bring to them a wealth of knowledge, and they should be allowed to share that knowledge with each other, share best practices, share tools, share tips and strategies. So the adult learner's prior experience should be acknowledged as a resource. And also, the second point that Malcolm Knowles makes about the adult learner's lifetime of experience is that the more connections we can make as facilitators to the adult learner's prior knowledge, to any new information that we are introducing to them, the deeper and more permanent that the learning will be. So it's very important that we make connections between prior knowledge and new knowledge. And also, it's not stated here in the slides, but Malcolm Knowles does make a point of explaining that if the knowledge that adults bring to each learning opportunity is not acknowledged by the facilitator, they will quickly disengage. So it's important that we somehow find a way to acknowledge their lifetime of experience. So again, I ask for you to reflect on your role as an adult learner. Have you been in a learning situation where your knowledge and skills have not been acknowledged at all by the facilitator or the instructor? And how did this make you feel? And then also reflect on your role as a professional development facilitator. Are you already acknowledging your participants' lifetime of experience? And if so, how? And if not, how do you think you could do that? The next assumption that we're going to explore is that adult learners are very relevancy oriented. And according to Knowles, adults become ready to learn when they experience in their life situations a need to know or to be able to do or perform more effectively. So what he says here basically is that the more relevant and practical our professional development sessions are to the adult learner, the more receptive they will be to the learning. If they can immediately use the information and the skills that we are presenting to them, if it is that relevant to them that they can actually immediately use it, then it will be the most effective for them. So we want to take the steps to make sure that what we are offering to our participants is relevant to them. So again, I ask that you reflect on your own experience as an adult learner, and if you've been in a learning situation where the contents really had little to do with your professional practice, or there wasn't really a way that you could apply that to your personal life or your professional practice, and how did that make you feel as a learner? And then also reflect on your role as a professional development facilitator. Do you make a point of making your professional development contents as relevant and practical as possible to your audience? And if so, how? And if not, how do you think you could begin to do that? The next assumption that we're going to explore is that adult learners are problem-centered learners. According to Malcolm Knowles, adult learners enter into a learning experience with a task-centered or problem-centered or life-centered orientation to learning. Knowles states that basically adults learn in the real world, in their real lives, outside of institutional learning, in a problem-centered way. So they have a problem in their professional lives or their personal lives that they need to solve, and then they acquire the knowledge and skills to solve that problem, and they learn in that way. So for professional development sessions to be effective, we should model our sessions in a similar way by presenting them with a problem that mirrors a problem that they would face in their professional lives or their personal lives, and give them the tools and skills to help solve that problem. So again, I ask for you to reflect on your experience as an adult learner. Have you ever been in a learning situation where the learning was presented to you in a problem-centered way? And how was this experience for you? And then also reflect on your professional practice. Have you done this before? Have you presented your contents in a problem-centered way to your participants? And how did you do so, and what was their reaction? And if you haven't, how do you think you could perhaps do that? And the last assumption that we're going to explore is about motivation. Knowles states that adult learners are motivated by both intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. So Knowles suggests that adults are not only motivated by extrinsic factors, like money or promotions or better working conditions, they are also motivated by intrinsic factors, such as self-esteem, more responsibility, more power, and that he suggests that in order to engage our audience of adult learners, that we appeal to both their extrinsic and intrinsic motivators and appeal to both their desire for professional advancement as well as personal enrichment. So reflect on this assumption. Think about it. Think about whether you agree or disagree with it. Think about how you are personally motivated in your own learning experiences as an adult learner. And think about how you motivate your participants in your sessions. How do you get them motivated to learn? So we've reviewed all 6 of Malcolm Knowles' assumptions, and you can pause the slide and take a quick look at each 6 of the assumptions once again. And as you review the assumptions, reflect on your professional practice. Are you able to incorporate these best practices into your sessions? And if so, how? And if you haven't, what challenges do you think you would face incorporating these best practices? And make note of those as well. So again, we're going to be revisiting this topic throughout the course, and you're also going to be seeing some tools, tips, and strategies for each assumption very shortly. But make note of what you're already doing, any questions that you have, and you'll have an opportunity to engage in a larger discussion with your course members.